and I'm back with another video of the Bad Time Trio. And just statement, I am not doing the heroes versus villains. I mean, you can obviously guess. I skipped over it because I didn't feel like it, like doing the hero versus villains. Because what's the point of doing the heroes versus villains when you obviously know who's gonna win? I mean, think of it this way. Izuku, our dear character here that we made so OP, but it's still learning her powers, but she's still OP, has the soul of both Gaster, Sans, Overswap Papyrus, SS Korra, SS Asriel, and that's it. Who do you think is gonna win? And she also has a girl that can make her float, which is Uraka, with the zero gravity, versus Bakugo and Ida. Who do you think is gonna win? Not Bakugo and Ida, that's for sure. They can just teleport in the building and then touch the bomb. There. Heroes versus there. Heroes win. Finish. It's like no problem. It's easy as that, by the way. As basically that's why I didn't do the heroes versus villains, and I'm changing the ship from Bakugo and Todoroki to one person. One person, like I would say, like I'm just changing the ship. I'm gonna say think of it this way, of the new ship now. This is the new ship, by the way. It is, drumroll please, Shinso. Why did I choose Shinso? Because number one, and most importantly, uh, because it's a girl, because it's not a boy Izuku, and it's a girl Izuku, I had to choose one of the boys. So, and I also gave Izuku more of a Frisk and Kara personality, instead of just an SS Kara, Sans, mixed Ghast and Papyrus like personality. So obviously, because it's a Frisk and Carver mix, uh, she's obviously going to be attracted to people like she's obviously going to be attracted to people that are always tired, Shinso, people that when it like people that like basically does the bare minimum to like just do a job, like people that doesn't even try. But when basically the plane stickers down, then they get serious. That is all Shinso still. And likes to taunt people. Shinso. That's like four things in common. And you know who also has four things in common with that? Sans. He does the bare minimum of the work just to finish it. He doesn't even try. Um, when the basically the play stick is down and his brother is dead, then he gets serious. He likes to taunt, and he's always lazy. He's a sleepy person. He just likes to sleep. That's also Shinso. And also Shinso takes those traits from I think his father, which I am might be wrong here, Mr. Azawa. Yes, he takes those traits from Mr. Azawa. So Shinso has all of the traits of why the ship will work, and I just don't know how I'm gonna make it work. Nah, I'll make it work in probably the sports festival. Yeah, probably the Ford Sports Festival. I'll make it work. I skipped the heroes versus villains. You know who's gonna win. Um, basically, that's why I went on to the USJ. Now I'm going after the USJ because I finished with that now. If you want to know what happened in the USJ, go back to the next video and watch it. Okay guys, I'm back. I just had to quickly do something. I don't know where I stopped. Oh yeah, this is what she looks like now. like she's gonna change her hero like outfit a bit more. Yes, this is what it's gonna look like. As basically, it's the base. Let's just say it's the next day, like when Mr. Zhao was supposed to tell them about the festival. The festival, basically. As basically Izuku like walks into class, as basically she says it's a more rowdier day than usual. As basically like she's looking around, as she says like starts talking to Ida. As Ida starts straying from her eyes going down, and basically it's like, hey, Ida, my eyes is up here, not down there. As basically Ida basically gets out of his shock and he's like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean. As basically Ida tries to apologize, and she's like, whoa, calm down, Ida. I'm just joking with you. I mean, you need to take that stick out of your ass once in a while, or you're never gonna get a girlfriend. As she says, while while grinning a bit. As Ida says, and what is that supposed to mean? As basically Izuku says, it means what it means. As basically she says, it means what it means. As Bakugo like basically is sitting behind them, as Bakugo says, ha, Four Eyes is never gonna get a girlfriend, as he just starts laughing. As Izuku says, oh yeah, Bakugo, and you're just an angry pomegranate. As she takes a picture out of an angry pomegranate, and then she starts saying, na 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 na. As Bakugo is getting pissed, as Kirishima grabs Bakugo, and he's holding Bakugo back. As basically, like, like Izuku's taunting Bakugo. As basically, like, there's a lot of things going on in the background. As Mrs. Owl comes in class, it's like, okay, everybody shut up and sit down. As everyone does. As basically, I would say that, no, not now. Oh, not now. I'm not going to do that now. As like Mr. Azawa starts talking, and as in canon, like talks basically with all his bandages on. He talks about um, the sports festival. As everyone's excited, even Izuku, as basically Bakugo like outright says that he like we're gonna like basically he's gonna kill everyone in the sports festival. As basically Izuku's like, as if like you can even hurt a fly, as she starts taunting him again. As basically Mr. Zawa's like is as basically Mr. Zawa's like, Izuku, Bakugo, Izuku, Bakugo, be quiet, and Izuku, stop taunting Bakugo. As basically she's like, fine, as she pouts. As basically the like day continues, as they start speaking about the force like sports festival, as everyone starts training, obviously for the sports festival. Sorry about that. Now I'm gonna just time skip because there's not much that goes on like during the training. So I'm just gonna time skip to the sports festival. As basically everyone's like everyone has like their nerves are basically on edge. Like everyone's on the edge. As basically Izuku can tell like everyone is stressed. As Izuku throws a pun in there, it's like wow. Like she just throws a pun just randomly out there. As basically Izuku's like wow, I mean this sports festival has everybody chilled to the bone, as basically she summons a bone. As everybody hears this, as they look at her, as they all like seriously now, as basically Izuku's like, what? It's a pun. As basically they all like, as basically as Uraraka starts giggling, as Izuku can see this, as she uses Uraraka as leverage. As basically Izuku's like, what's wrong, Uraraka? you like the pun, as basically she's trying to keep her laughter in, as basically Izuku's like, come on, you know two skulls are better than one, as basically she's keeping this laugh in as hard as she can, as basically it's making the others laugh around her. What, did I tickle your funny bone? As basically she's throwing more skeleton puns in there, as basically like they come out of the basically they're like walking to the, how can I say it, the competition area in a line, as basically it's like, okay everyone, in this match let's try not to lose our heads, as basically finally Uraka starts bursting in laughter, as basically Kushima can't take it anymore, as basically he starts laughing as well, as it is like, I swear to you, your puns is getting quite bothersome. As basically, Izuku slides next to Ida and starts basically, it's a like friendly shoulder chick. As basically like, oh come on, you know you liked it. As basically Ida's like, I did not. I find it repulsive. You find what repulsive? The puns or the bones? As basically for some reason she just brought it basically a trumpet, and she's like blah blah blah, as she's just throwing puns left, right and center, as she's like basically like taking the stress off her friends, as she stops when the teacher's supposed to speak, as basically I said the first person was Izuku Midoriya. Yeah, I said the first person in the ignorance exam was Izuku Midoriya. Izuku Midoriya. She has to give a speech, an ancient speech. She's like, well, I wasn't prepared to give a speech to everyone, as she basically like wasn't informed of this, as she looks at her teacher. As her teacher's basically like, whatever. It's basically, it's like, well, if I must give a speech, then I'm gonna give a speech anyway. Well, I'm not gonna say what she says because I can't think of a speech right now that has puns included. Well, basically she's saying a speech while adding a few puns, like some random puns, like standing up on the stage giving a speech off the top of my head is chilling to the bone. She summons a bone, as basically, if like the audience are like thinking, did she just give a pun or something? As basically she continues this like basically her speech, as she continues throwing puns left, right, unknowing, as basically like starting to make people laugh, as um like everyone's watching this, as basically is like, well, she's an interesting character, as basically she like says that they basically like she says that everyone here should give it their all, and I wish you all a good luck, as basically everyone's like, why did she wish us a good luck? As they wondering why they basically she wished all of them a good luck. Yeah, Shinso's also wondering this, like, why did she just wish us a good luck? It's like, are we gonna fail or something? As like Izuku, like everyone gets to their running positions. Basically the same thing as the running thing. As everyone gets to the positions, as Izuku is getting prepared, as the bell starts, Izuku jumps in the air. As she jumps high in the air, makes a blaster underneath her feet that is facing backwards, as it fires as she goes flying through the tunnel. As basically she goes flying, as she's passing all basically she's going over the field, as Todoroki does the same thing, freezes everyone. As the person that is in the lead is Izuku, and she's flying on a gas blaster like it's a skateboard. As the second place is basically Todoroki. Third place is Bakugo because of his explosions. Fourth place. Fourth place is basically Creation Quirk, Momo, and then the rest of Class 1A is approaching behind with a few other people like Shinso and yeah, a lot of canon people. As they're all like basically following Izuku. As Izuku just flew over the 0 pointers like nothing. As she comes onto the second obstacle, as she flies over it. As basically like this is too easy. As she is just flying while Todoroki is giving like chase. As she's as Todoroki freezes the 0 pointers, as basically she can see Todoroki give chase as Bakugo is right behind them, and now Todoroki and Bakugo fighting for second, as basically she flies over this massive gorge or this massive hole that is very very deep. As she flies over it, as basically she's like, huh, if I didn't have an object that can fly, I would have been struggling. As basically she flies over it, as but like Todoroki does his same thing in canon, as Bakugo also does his same thing in canon. Everyone does the same thing the way they got over that massive like basically gorge. As basically Ida also did that same thing with the T posing on that line with his like basically engines. As Izuku made it first over the landmines, as she's flying over the landmines too. As basically Izuku looks at the floor and it looks weird, so she drops a bone on it as it explodes. As basically she's like, I would definitely be struggling I if I didn't have anything that could fly. As Izuku basically like the first person that crosses the finish line is Izuku with a 0 challenge. As basically like Todoroki gets over the gorge when Izuku crosses the finish line. As Todoroki just came across the landmines. As Todoroki does the same thing with like in canon, as he's fighting against Bakugo like for second place. As basically I would say like Todoroki got second, third, and Class 1A also made it. With Shinso, obviously everyone in canon. Except for one person that is going to be out. Sorry guys, I have a lot of phlegm in my chest. Give me a minute to get rid of it. Nope, it's not working. Never mind. Um, well, I'm gonna skip to the cavalry battle now because not much has happened. So, basically, skipping to the cavalry battle, I would say Izuku has the same setup as basically it's Dark Shadow and gosh, I don't know his name. Basically, that one that likes to revel in the darkness with Dark Shadow. Yeah, him. Uh, Uvaka. The yes, I had a name. I had a name. I had her name. The support class girl. Like with Izuku in the Legacy video. Her. I think it was Hajure? Hajure? Hajure, it is Hajure, something Hajure. Something Haj, something. Something H. I'm just struggling with her name. And Dark Shadow and Izuku. Izuku won't be the one riding. Dark Shadow will be the one riding. As Izuku gave Dark Shadow the idea where Dark Shadow is covering like he's basically Dark Shadow's covering gosh, I don't know his name. Dark Shadow is covering like basically the person that has Dark Shadow as a quirk is covering him, that too. As basically they still come up with the same plan, but Izuku is now basically in Dark Shadow's place. So is like Izuku will be the long range defense and close range defense. As basically the timer begins, as everyone like no one's attacking them like people already started attacking them, so they already like went up like not as soon as the match began. They stayed at the bottom for a few minutes. As when they got stuck, then they basically went up and chilled in the sky flying for a while. As Bakugo couldn't reach them with his explosions, Todoroki was just picking on small fry. As basically everyone went after each other once the 1 million points was out of reach. As basically I like a few hours go by and the cavalry battles like not halfway, 70%, like not 70%, like 20%, 25% done, as they have to come down to basically give Uraraka like time to breathe. As they go down again, as the first team to attack them is not Todoroki's team, Bakugo's team. As he's the first person to attack them, as Dick like Izuku like starts avoiding, as Dark Shadow is on top of basically the person that has his like Dark Shadow as a quirk, is basically like on top of like the headband, as he's protecting it. As no one's like basically coming close to the headband, not even Bakugo. As like they are like trying, but they are failing. Like very quickly, they are failing. As basically like Deku starts using some of his abilities, as his eyes glow both red, as red knives appear like all around him, as he sends them out, as they're like homing missiles. They are just like going after the groups, and they're going after everyone. As a few teams get caught up in this like basically homing knife missile like barrage that Deku has sent, as basically Uraraka has rested up, as she's a bit better now, as they go up again after Izuku threw this homing missile barrage. As Izuku wants to rain chaos down on this game, but she says it would be unfair for a lot of people, so she doesn't want to do that. As basically, like, it's now another, like, 25 minutes have passed. As now it's halfway into the match, as Uraka is still holding strong this time. As basically just like Uraka, like a few minutes like after Uraka starts getting sick, they go back down. This time, like Bakugo is dealing with the copycat guy, the guy that just loves to laugh and basically, how can I say, make fun of people. That copycat guy. As Bakugo is dealing with him, Todoroki goes off. Like finally, Todoroki goes after the 1 million points. As basically they like initiate the plan, as Todoroki sends like a mirage of ice on one side, as like Denki's on the other side of Todoroki's fire side, as he sends a barrage of lightning on that side that like takes out everyone behind them and like that's opposite side them. As Denki didn't go dumb yet, as Ida basically starts rushing in to get the million points, as um Momo's busy riding, as she basically, yeah, basically like she made a blanket, as basically they weren't expecting the Todoroki team to like just attack them out of nowhere, as basically she throws it over like Dark Shadow, the blanket, as like Dark Shadow is like, ah, why you, as basically like Deku's like just pulls everybody, because Deku's the one like controlling the speed. He basically teleports everybody to a section like a different location, as basically like the time like the Deku is dodging, as Uraraka feels better, as basically Deku goes, basically, in this, like, moment, like, this is when Ida thought of an idea, as he uses Reciprocal Burst, as basically, when Todoroki was about to grab the, like, when Momo was about to grab the 1 million points, Deku teleports, like, Izuku teleports all of them on top, in the sky, as basically she tells Uraraka to use it now, as I would say they also, like, took out one of, like, basically their boots, the support boots that basically the sport girl made, as they're not hovering, like, they're slowly going down, as Izuku's like, damn it, there's a lot of them down there, I better do something, as basically like, fine, no holding back, as her eyes start glowing, as you can see a lot of bones, knives, and like blue bones start appearing above the arena, as basically like, if I'm like, basically it's like time to go all out, she says, as she sends all of these objects down, as they all go crashing down below all of them, as basically it's chaos now, because she's eliminating teams left, right, and center, and grabbing, like, basically like giving teams opportunities to grab points, as basically like all these bones are just going like in the floor, impaling the floor, and they keep on reforming above them, as basically when she lands she creates bone walls all around them, as basically time is running down, as Bakugo just got his headband back, all the points that he collected back from the copycat guy, as basically Bakugo is after now basically Izuku's team, and Todoroki is also after Izuku's team, as basically Bakugo blows the wall up, as Bakugo goes rushing through the bone wall, as Deku sends basically a wall of bone projectiles to Bakugo, as like she teleports, as basically Izuku's like can't teleport all of them like multiple times. Izuku is fine with teleporting herself, but she has to teleport not just herself but 3 other people at the same time, and she's getting a bit tired doing that, as she's panting, as she like basically she didn't know that the Todoroki team was behind them, as basically they rushed, as like basically Deku's fending off them now. They're fending off against Todoroki, Denki, and Momo, as Dark Shadow is still like on basically that one dude that just likes to revel in the darkness. He's still on top of like the basically the 1 million points, as basically Izuku sending projectiles like all over the place, because she's trying to avoid getting the 1 million headband stolen, as Bakugo breaks the wall, finds them, and chases after them, as the timer counts down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and at 5 they are just about to grab the headband. 4, 3, 2, as basically a gaster blaster appears on basically where like Todoroki was about to grab the 1 million headband, as basically it's blocking Todoroki and Bakugo from grabbing the 1 million headband, as it's like 1, as basically Izuku teleports, as basically time's up, as everything stops, as Izuku basically says like, we did it, as everyone like gets off her, as she just drops, like, because she's tired of teleporting like 3 people constantly, as basically President Might praises the one that did so much destruction, like she's the one that did the most havoc in this, how can I say it, this tournament, because she set everything a misfire, like people that were having one-on-ones with each other in this battle went to 4 on, like basically 4 on 4. So yeah, she took out a lot of teams as well, and she like a lot of headbands dropped to the floor as well. so people could just pick up headbands. As Todoroki and Todoroki and Bakugo was like, damn it, as they were so close, but they just couldn't get it. As everyone in canon goes basically goes on. Everyone in canon did basically the one-on-one battle. Everyone in canon continues. Bakugo, Todoroki, that guy that likes guy with the that guy with the basically the shadow quirk. The shadow quirk. Gosh, now I forgot the shadow thing's name. That guy, Uraka, Kushima, Denki. I think Denki, yeah, Denki. Because Denki was on Todoroki's team. Who else? Momo. Um, but the lineups are going to be a bit different. So first off, it's basically I would say brothers versus brothers, Denki versus Kuroshima, as hot like nah. Let's make that for a third round. I would say a bit more different. I would say the first round could be basically the mind reader versus Denki. The mind reader versus Denki, and then Denki can be eliminated. Kuroshima versus that iron copy guy that he has to fight. The copy one that can use that iron quirk of his. And versus the hardening quirk, Kuroshima wings obviously. Um, who else? Not yeah, Uraka versus Bakugo. No, that can be for a different round. Uraka versus another member. Uraka wings. Todoroki versus another one. Todoroki wings and Deku Izuku versus another person, and then Momo versus another person, and then Momo and basically Deku can fight in the second final, the fourth semifinals. So basically, then the list is off. The list is off. So the first one I said the Mind Reader versus Kushima. The Mind Reader wins. Because I would say the Kushima doesn't know his quirk. So basically the mind controller wings, or Shinso wings. Um, Uraka versus Uraka versus who now again? Bakugo for the fourth semifinals. Yeah, for the fourth semifinals, Uraka versus Bakugo. Bakugo, no, we can say Uraka wins because Uraka has a much more training and Bakugo is a bit more arrogant, and he also had his ass handed to him in the Heroes versus Villains very badly. So basically, Bakugo does train, but he trains more in power than technique. So yeah, Uraraka, in a string of luck, when she does a plan, she grabs a rock out of mid-air and throws it at Bakugo, hitting Bakugo's shoulder, and Bakugo's quirk gets used against him. Bakugo gets sent flying out of the ring as Uraraka wins, just by basically self-sacrifice. As Uraraka's going to the third semi-round, so basically it's Shinso versus Uraraka. Um, Or I can say, yeah, I can add another unknown, I can add another unknown verse, then it'll be Shinso versus someone, then Uraraka can verse someone else. But the next one would be Todoroki is like, gosh, okay. So I know Izuku is versing Momo. I know that for sure. Then Todoroki is basically an extra one, so I'm adding an extra verses. Todoroki beats an unknown person as well. He also goes to the next round. Todoroki will fight Izuku in the next round after Momo. So Izuku is going to basically fight Momo, but instead of basically like fighting the way she normally does, she's going hand to hand because Izuku is practicing hand to hand combat because of her because of Owatel Papyrus. He uses a staff to fight, and in some basically like in some videos, Sans uses basically two bones to also fight. As basically she's used basically she like basically summons two bones in her hand as basically she's standing like versing Momo. As Momo creates like two like just like two weapon like a pole. She creates a pole, a long pole. As basically Momo and Deku have a fight. Basically bam like a very dope ass sword fight. Basically pole and two stick and two bones fight. It's pretty dope. Like I I can like give some information on how the fight goes. Like if the like when the fight begins, the Izuku rushes Momo, as Momo goes on a defensive, as basically Izuku swinging her two like attacks, as basically Izuku tries a leg sweep, as Momo jumps over it and tries to attack Izuku with the like sharp side of the pole, as Izuku like basically blocks it with a bone, as basically Izuku tries hitting her with the other ball in her other hand. She blocks it with her staff. As it goes back and forth like this for a while, until you get this scene where basically Izuku Izuku found an opening where she basically Izuku hits Momo's pole out of her hand, as Izuku has been like taking away Momo's weaponry, but she kept on making more. So Izuku basically hits Momo's weapon out of her hand that she has now, as basically she like immediately went in for the attack, giving Momo no chance. As Momo basically like not tripped, she was about to trip, but she brought her leg up to kick like Izuku's head. As like Izuku caught basically her leg, and now basically they are face to face while Izuku is holding her leg just like right next to her head, as basically they are face to face, as Momo like created a knife behind her back, as Izuku has a sharp edged bone to Momo's neck, as basically she's like, don't try it, as basically Momo's like, as she says it out loud, I lost, as basically she dropped her weapons, as she shows her hands like, I lost, as basically she's like, okay, as they handshake, as they leave, as like basically like President Mike says, "What great sportsmanship!" As basically like President Mike is like basically commentating over the show, as basically Izuku also put like without them both realizing they were also in a compromising position. Well, actually, Izuku put Momo in a compromising position because Momo's leg was by Izuku's head. Just remember, leg was by Izuku's head, and Izuku was holding her from not falling. So if she like basically Izuku was keeping her, Izuku was the only one keeping her from falling. As that's what I mean by compromising position. Like her, like basically when Momo tried to kick Izuku's head, Izuku grabbed her leg and like stopped her from falling, and then put her like a bone just to her neck, and that's why they were face to face afterwards. That's what I mean by compromising position. Is basically President Mike says some stupid thing about basically you can like do some like tricks that you see here, basically at home with your partner, As basically Izuku's like, what is President Mike going on about? As basically there's a recording of the compromising position Izuku put Momo in. As basically she's like, oh. As basically like Izuku doesn't say anything. She's just like, oh. Okay. Well, sorry, I was having too much. I was too into the fight to realize I basically put her in that position. But I guess it's fine. It's like no problem, no harm, no foul, I guess. As she goes back to the dressing room, as the next match is basically, the next match will be the semifinals, because then, yeah, because then it's Uraraka versus Shinso, uh, Todoroki versus Izuku. As then the winner of basically Uraraka and Shinso's battle then will go to the finals, and the winner of Todoroki and Izuku will go to the semifinals. As they have a quick break here, as basically Izuku got dressed into the some like basically cheerleader's outfit for UA, as basically all the girls are out in front, as basically President Might starts commenting on what's happening and what are the class 1A girls wearing, as basically like everyone's pissed, even's Momo, even's Jiro's pissed, as basically like Jiro throws her basically her pom poms on the floor. And it's like, I don't know why we even thought, I don't know why those perverts like made us do this. As like Izuku doesn't mind it, like she's busy cheerleading. As basically she's like basically motivating all of them to also join in. As they all join in, as they did a quick break, as this break is just them like cheerleading. It's like nothing different. As Izuku is basically gets dressed back into a like hero outfit, I guess. As or basically gym clothes for the sports UA. As the next fight is basically Midorita versus Uraraka, Shinso versus Uraraka. As basically Uraraka did put up a fight, but Shinso like kept on like bad mouthing her, and she had to say something. As Shinso got control of her again and just like told her to walk out. As Shinso like has been doing this for the entire match, and now he's made it to the finals, and is basically it's Suzuku versus Todoroki. As Todoroki basically gives the same thing off in canon, he won't lose. As basically like to like basically how can I say it? Izuku told like Todoroki that if he won't use his full power, I won't use my full power either, as that's what she says. As she did what she promised, she didn't use her full power in the match when the start. As basically Todoroki kept on throwing ice at her and she kept on dodging. As basically she's taunting Todoroki as well. Like Shinso does, she's taunting Todoroki as she keeps on dodging. As basically she's next to Todoroki, as she has a like she's leaning on on his shoulder, as basically it's like, do you seriously think you're gonna beat me just with ice? As she teleports away, I mean, as she teleports next to him, as he's like, seriously, you must be bone stupid if you think you're gonna beat me with just ice. As she is basically like taunting Todoroki, until she asks the question, why doesn't Todoroki want to use his fire side? As Todoroki says that he won't use that man's quirk, as they start an argument, as she finally says that it's his quirk, not that man's, and that you should be the one to decide what you do with your quirk. As basically she has to say it again, but a bit louder to Todoroki so he can understand, as he finally uses his fire side. as he's a bit inaccurate with his aiming, as basically she's like, finally. As she starts sending projectiles, as through the fire, bones start flying at Todoroki. As Todoroki jumps and rolls out of the way, as basically Todoroki feels the ground basically cracking underneath him. As he gets up, jumps back, as a bone, like basically a lot of bones start coming out of the ground. As basically like, oh, you dodged that. Well, that's not fair. As basically Todoroki gets a blue soul on his chest as he starts flying towards Izuku, as Izuku has a gas blaster next to him, as she's like, bye, as Todoroki lands on the ground, and with his, like, just with, like, leg strength alone, he basically, like, nudges himself a bit to the side just to dodge the blaster. And she's like, oh, I missed, as Bones appeared next to, on the opposite side of the arena, as they fly to Todoroki. As this continues, like, basically for a while, as Todoroki is dodging while sending flames of ice and fire towards Izuku. But obviously, like, just before, there was a moment just before Izuku was going to get hit by ice, where Izuku stopped, teleported, as his eyes started glowing blue, as Todoroki's chest had that blue soul, as she throws Todoroki down on the ground using here blue magic and throws him out of the ring. As she starts basically panting, as she's like, that was a close one. I nearly, I nearly, that was a close one. I nearly lost my head. I nearly, basically, she's like, I nearly lost my, basically, then she makes a skull. Like a gas blaster. She makes a, like a human skull. Lost my head there. As she makes a human skull. As basically she, like, makes a pun in this time, like, time of, like, type of battle. As Todoroki's already out of the bounds. He couldn't stop himself in time as basically Dick Izuku Midoriya wins. And now the next match, obviously, is Shinso versus Izuku Midoriya. As Shinso, like, starts basically, when the match begins, Shinso starts, like, basically, how can I say it? Starts, like, basically bad mouthing Izuku. As Izuku's wondering what Shinso's ability, as he's thinking on Shinso's quirk and what happened if, like, someone answered him. As she doesn't say anything, as she used blue magic, as she brings him towards her, as she looks at him closely, like basically look how he acts, how, like, basically he looks, as basically she's like, you're kind of cute for a boy, as basically Shinso's like, wait, what? As basically it's like, nothing, forget it. As she's like, nothing, forget it, forget I said anything. And she basically tries to send Shinso out of bounds using blue magic. She tries to send Shinso out of bounds using blue magic, but Shinso stops basically. As Shinso says, like, basically, when Deku tried to send Shinso out of bounds using blue magic, Shinso has a scarf over him. He has Mr. Ozawa's scarf. He has one. He's been training with it. As he wraps the scarf around Izuku's arm, as basically he holds tight on her, like, basically to keep him, like, stay in bounds, because she's pushing him, like, him back out of bounds. As basically she's like, whoa, is that Mr. Ozawa's scarf? As basically she's looking at it, it's like, cool. Well, you do resemble him in a way, as she says. As basically she basically throws a few bone projectiles at her. As Shinso hasn't taken control over her, it's because she hasn't answered Shinso's question. As basically Shinso asks the question, is like, basically he asks the question, like, just her, like, a question that, like, basically ask her to give, like, basically ask her for a pun. As basically she says a pun, as she gets taken over, as she doesn't know what's happening, as she stops. As Shinso says, now walk out of bounds. As basically she's walking slowly out of the bounds of the match. As just before she was about to step out of bounds and lose the match, uh, something took over, which her soul started glowing. It grew so bright that it blinded everyone in the arena. As basically, she is now like basically red, like her whole body is red. As she gives a red smile with red like lines for eyes. As she looks at Shinso, is like as Shinso is like, what the? As basically she disappears. She appears like in front of Shinso as she flicks him on the head. He goes flying out of bounds. He couldn't stop like that, just instant attack. As basically Shinso lost as he's like, damn it. But Shinso's not that badly hurt. As basically Midoriya falls out of this form as he's like, that was a close one. She says. She looks at her hand, it's like, I'm still learning some of my abilities even. As basically she wonders what happened. As she doesn't know. Shinso is still out of bounds. Shinso's like just sitting down there, head down. As basically she walks over. She's like, come on, don't be a bad sport now. As she offers a hand to Shinso. And Shinso's like, wait, what? As Deku's like, I said, don't be a bad sport. Come on. As Izuku like takes Shinso's hand forcefully. As Izuku forcefully takes Shinso's hand. As like pulls like Shinso up. As she's like, well, you are pretty good if you got this far with your quirk. I mean, seriously, like controlling people's mind is a powerful quirk. But you can only do so much with it. As basically she says you can only do so much with it. As basically she's like, see you around, Shinso. As basically like that continues. Let's stop at the episode. I would say when Izuku like basically like helped his like basically Shinso up, basically she would say the same thing she said in the battle. And like I said before, you're kind of cute, and basically kissed him on the cheek and then walked away, basically waving, paying no attention to it. And she's like, bye now for now. As basically she's like, bye for now. As Shinso doesn't even know what just happened. It's like, what just happened? As she got number one, obviously. As basically we go to when they're giving the medals out. As All Might gives like her the medal. She gives third place to Uraka, second place to Shinso, and first place to basically her. As she thanked basically All Might says that Uraka can be a powerful hero, and she only proves her basically hard work can get you this far. As she tells Shinso that basically his quirk can only do so much. He needs to train his body as well. Shinso agrees and basically like accepts the second medal, like second like place. As basically all my praises Izuku for power, like strength, power, ingenuity, and also getting Todoroki out of the bad habit of not using his like full quirks extension, which is his fire side. Basically all my praises Izuku for that. As basically Izuku takes first place, obviously. And that's it for the festival, the sports festival. And I'm gonna stop it here because, like, I'm stopping it here because I think we might go into an hour soon. Well, until next time, guys, and until the next video, bye for now. Next video, bye for now.